How long is the right amount of time to wait to be happy? How long should we wait? Should we wait until all of our problems are solved? Is that how long we should wait before we're happy? Because that'll be a long wait. If we need to have no aches and no pains, no congestion, no inflammation anywhere in our body in order to feel healthy, it's going to be a long wait. If we need our email inbox to be at 0 messages, completely clear, it's going to be a long wait. How long should we wait to be happy? In the gospel tonight, we hear about people with a big problem. If you have a fatal disease like leprosy, that is your biggest problem. And it is on your mind 24/7. So when it's cured, you're so relieved. The joy must be overwhelming. But think about that. How many days would it take after being cured of some fatal illness before you started to realize that, your back kind of hurts? And your boss really is pretty demanding. And your spouse really does have bad breath. How long would it take before those problems wouldn't start to be on our minds? When I was coming to be the pastor of St. Patrick's and St. Mary's 5 years ago, a wise older priest gave me advice that I never forgot and never could have expected. He said, when you are a pastor, you need to learn to leave at least one problem alone that would be easy to solve. Be sure not to solve all the problems and leave one of them undone, at least. He said, because the congregation will always find problems. And if you can keep them focused on a problem you could fix, then in time you can be the hero. In fact, he said you could even keep a problem that you could fix on a shelf for a rainy day or for a time when you're not very popular, and then you can pull it out and fix it and everybody will be impressed. He said, but if you fix a problem that you can fix, they will come up with one that you can't fix. So make sure to have at least one problem that you could fix that's on your shelf. Didn't see that advice coming, but how wise it is. There will always be problems at churches. There'll always be problems with old, beautiful buildings like our 103-year-old church here. And those problems are going to be part of every aspect of life. Struggle is a constant part of being alive. And we are never all the way there, wherever there is. If we're on some kind of journey or chasing some goal, we're never there this side of heaven. But thinking about those problems all the time is miserable. Because there's something else that's constant in our lives. Just as constantly as there are problems in our lives, there are blessings. They're constant. They never end. They're relentless, these blessings. But if you're like me, most of us have a lot more experience and a lot more skill at counting our problems than counting our blessings. Our problems are so constant, we're aware that we can't escape them. But our blessings are the same way. So constant that we have to make peace with having them in our lives all the time because we're never going to escape them. They're relentless, these blessings. They never stop. So if we would like to be happier, one of the things we can do is change the dial of our thoughts from the station that is broadcasting our problems all the time to the station that's broadcasting our blessings 24/7. The 24/7 blessing channel is just as constant, but we have to make a decision to tune into it. On Tuesday, I came into the office at St. Mary's in Coxsackie, as I always do, and as always, our 2 trusty volunteer receptionists were there, Judy and Bill Halstead, who are probably watching tonight and had no idea I was going to mention them. But Judy and Bill, as always, I greeted them in the morning and said, "How are you doing?" And Bill said, "We're doing well, all things considered." And I thought he was talking about 2020 and coronavirus. But I asked a little more, and it turns out that they have a relative who received a very serious diagnosis recently, and they're so worried about him. But on top of that, the night before, they had to put their dog to sleep, a dog that they had had for 14 years. So now rewind that conversation. I said, "How are you doing today?" He said, "Pretty good, all things considered." So when I asked more about the stress of this health concern and the loss of this dog, can you imagine, all of you with dogs out there, can you imagine? And he said, we had 14 wonderful years with her, and she did not suffer. And we have wonderful memories with her. How can we not give thanks? Totally different way to approach something so sad. And I've seen people do this with big things too. A dear friend of mine from college this week has been through one family crisis after another. It started in one branch of the family, and she was putting all of her attention there. And then the other branch of the family had another crisis, and now she's got a parent who is in the middle of major surgery. And all of this is happening 4 hours away from where she lives with her husband and 3 kids and a busy job. So when I heard that she had dropped everything to drive those 4 hours, leave her husband and kids behind so she could be there for the latest family crisis, I said, "I can't believe what bad timing this is." And she said, no, it's perfect timing. She said, "Because I had the weekend to regroup, and I've got a husband who can, on a dime, change what he's doing and take care of our kids. And I have a car that could take me there." She said, "It was perfect. Everything fell into place perfectly." I was focused on how it was such a burden for her, about how just when she was starting to come to terms with one family crisis, another one hit. But she realized it was perfect. She was able to be of service to her family when they needed her, and everything fell right into place. Sometimes these things happen from just small little things. You know how we have mass intentions here at church? We'll name those who have died. And tonight, one of the people that we're thinking of who we'll be praying for is the family of Don Gager, who was a member of this parish for going on 60 years. Rita died a couple of years ago, and Don just died suddenly, unexpectedly on Sunday. So we're thinking of the Gager family. But, whenever we say those names, we might mispronounce them. Sometimes that happens. So, if somebody didn't realize their name was Gager, they might say Gager. And sometimes we call the Persico family, well known here, the Persicos. It happens. Well, we lost a wonderful Coxsackie parishioner earlier this year named Patricia McManus. She was just a delight. And her husband was married to her for over 60 years. They had 3 grown kids. And everyone called her Pat in town. But when the deacon read her name off of the prayers of the faithful, he said Patrick. He said, "We remember Patrick McManus." It's a very simple mistake. And I thought at first I misheard it, but I could see that her husband and her son and daughter were sitting there in the church. They made a special effort in the middle of coronavirus to be there. And so when I realized, I think they called that woman named Pat, I think he called her Patrick, I cringed just a little. And I hoped the family didn't hear it, or I hope I misheard it. But no, it was true. And I got a note from that daughter of Pat McManus saying, "Father, just want to let you know that we're praying for you and wish you a happy Thanksgiving." We also wanted to say that we were at Mass this past week, and it sounded like you announced that her name was Patrick McManus. And I'm reading on, kind of cringing and bearing down, and she said, "We had such a laugh over that. Mom would have loved it." What a beautiful and unexpected way to bring her presence to us. tuned in to the blessing channel. When we change the channel from the problem network to the blessing network, everything can be seen in a different light. And I really think it's important to say that this is not something that I say lightly. It really is a shift that we can make. So when you hear a siren, as we just heard, a siren just went by the church here while I've been speaking in the past 10 minutes. One of the things we can do is, instead of saying, well, what is it now? Or, oh my gosh, I can't believe how many sirens there are lately. Wouldn't it be good to shift that into, can you believe how many people there are that have chosen a profession or volunteer to drop everything at a moment's notice to go help a stranger? Isn't it amazing we live in a place where people will go help strangers with everything they've got, even on a holiday like this? When we can't be at Mass because of coronavirus, can we appreciate the amazing miracle of livestream technology? That we can actually be in our homes and be present to this. That there are people in nursing homes right now and people in Virginia and Georgia and California that are watching this. Can we marvel at that miracle? And for people like the Gager family tonight who are mourning over losing their dad that they had for 88 years, to change the channel just a little and to realize what a blessing it is to have a dad for that many years. What an amazing and noble dad he was. And to appreciate that that connection that they have with him is eternal. It will never end. Now, instead of them having to go to South Bethlehem to be with him, he'll be wherever they are. And their mom will be there too. I had a friend from college visit last week, and she brought a little Scottish terrier with her named Nara. And I was always trying to get Nara's attention and, play games with him. He was a sweet little guy. But every time we had something to eat, there was no talking to Nara. He was looking at my food. And he was looking at the ground to see if there might be a crumb that would drop. And I could hold up whatever I was eating, and I could say his name, and he would not be looking at me. He would be looking at that food like a laser beam. And that's exactly what we need to do with our blessings. We need to get fixed on those blessings like laser beams. Because one thing in life is sure, we're always going to have problems. But there is something else that is just as certain. We are never going to have more problems than we have blessings. Happy Thanksgiving.